All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Erin Sousley. This morning, I'm here with Dr. David Jockers. Good morning, Dr. David.
Ryan, great to be on with you.
Hey, I am super pumped to be able to interview you today. David, you and I go way, way, way back. I still remember meeting you when I was a brand new student at Life University Chiropractic School down in Atlanta, Georgia. And that was, over 15 years ago now, I think. And man, we've come a long way, both of us.
That's
And I just want, if people don't know who you are, I mean, they definitely need to go to your website. They need to go to drjockers.com, supercharge your health, and just get plugged in to what this guy has to offer. I mean, you are quickly becoming one of the premier health influencers in the wellness industry, and not just in America, but around the world. I mean, I personally use your articles a lot in terms of patient education. You know, when we do seminars and webinars, I go to your website to get information and research. The Keto Metabolic Breakthrough book that you wrote and produced last year, I personally bought, and we did several workshops in our office that was strictly based on the information in that book. And so I just really appreciate you as a person, because I know you personally. You've been a good friend of mine for a long, long time, and we crossed paths at seminars and different things. But I also really, really admire and respect your dedication to not only the profession of chiropractic, but also just the mission to help people achieve their fullest health potential. And so I just want you to know that I really appreciate you as a brother in arms on that mission. Yeah. And I'm excited to interview you this morning, because the reason why we're doing these interviews is just to increase awareness and get a conversation going, revolving around the issue of health freedom. And as a health influencer, I mean, someone who's got one of the top health and wellness websites in the world now, you know, obviously you're producing a lot of content, and you can probably speak to the fact that getting the truth out there, getting real, you know, actionable content, you know, science-based content out to the public isn't probably always the easiest thing. Is that right?
Oh, for sure. Well, first off, I just want to say thank you for that great intro. And you know, you and your wife Erin are really lights in the world. And I still remember when we first did meet, and you guys just jumped out at me as you know, really special people. And so it's great to have that relationship, and also just super proud of you guys and all the great work you guys are doing. And for you know, just doing this video series as well. It's so important in this race that you're doing, because medical freedom is a huge issue. You know, from a health content perspective, you know, it used to be one of those things where Google, for example, the different search platforms would rank your article based on really the quality of the article, and the way that the main way that they knew your article was quality would be the amount of time that people spent on the page and social shares, meaning, and then also backlinks. Meaning, if you got on that site, like we've all been on sites and we're like, immediately we realize this is not what I'm looking for. And then we jump to another site. We're like, okay, I'm not finding what I want. So as a search platform, Google, or really any other search engine, its goal is to help you, the user, the consumer, find the information that you want and find it quickly. And that gives value to the user to go back to that search engine. Google obviously has dominated everybody else. And so now whenever we think about a search engine, we go right to Google. And, you know, again, the way that they ranked it would be, okay, if you enjoyed the content, you obviously were spending a lot of time on the page, right? And then you would probably share it on your social media, or maybe even link to it if you were writing an article yourself. Like if you were a content blogger, you would like, okay, I'm going to link to this article because it's such a good article. So those were really the three big criteria to get ranked high on a search engine like Google. But now at this point, they've changed that to where they have kind of this authority algorithm system that if you are, you know, just a private doctor like myself, Dr. Jockers, I get penalized compared to Cleveland Clinic, right? Or WebMD. So WebMD has a really high authority score. And even though you might get on there and really not find the content very valuable or helpful, they're still going to rank way higher than somebody like myself. And so I actually get penalized just because my site does not have, you know, an EDU, an ORG, or it's not kind of in the hospital system. So I used to, at one point, you know, we were getting like 1.5 million unique visitors to my website every single month, right? And now it's like 300,000. And
Wow.
so, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, 1.5 million. Yeah, every month we were getting. And then at one point we dropped down to 100,000 when they first made that first Google algorithm change. And so now, yeah, we're roughly around 300,000 or so, but we've been, in a sense, deplatformed. It's very hard to find my content on Google, even though we have some of the highest time spent on page and social shares. And so we rank much higher than a lot of these other sites. And yet, we're on like the 10th page.
Yeah, your stuff is incredibly science-based. I mean, there's a lot of quote unquote mommy bloggers out there, and I don't just mean women. There's guys that are doing it too, but people that just write from their own personal experience, but they don't have any credentials and it's not scientific. And those are great, but your stuff is extremely scientific. It's all peer-reviewed medical journal research, mostly, backed by science. And I mean, many of my patients will come in, unsolicited and say, "Hey, I read this great article. It's all about this," and they'll hand it to me, and it's your article. So I know that your stuff is valuable. It's getting out there. My question is, what do you think is behind that? Like, why do you think the deplatforming has happened?
Well, basically, I know that there's some elements where Google, their parent company, Alphabet, has invested a lot of money into, I believe it's GlaxoSmithKline, which is a pharmaceutical manufacturer, vaccine manufacturer. So there's some conflicts of interest. And Google is not supposed to be a publisher. They're supposed to be an open access platform, meaning basically it's like crowd sharing. It's like, okay, everybody can put their content out, and then the stuff that's popular will rank at the top. And that's what they were doing. That's actually where they grew their popularity. But now that they have more or less a monopoly, they've been able to restructure things to where it benefits them from a financial perspective. And so when you're getting more medically biased information, and by that, WebMD has some good information. I'll look at WebMD for some information from time to time, but WebMD is very clearly biased in the favor of medications and vaccinations, as opposed to natural things that you can be doing to improve your health, like good nutrition and utilizing different herbs and exercise, right? Positive mental attitude and things like that. So it's very biased in a certain direction. And most of the, if you're educated, that going in. But if you're just a random person looking online and you don't understand that, you're not in this field, then you find that you think that is the top authority. That's, in a sense, the gold standard when it comes to whatever information you're looking for. Then you're getting a very biased version. And I would be okay with that if on the first page of Google, you might have, 3 biased sites, but then 3 sites that were more pro natural health. So you can pick and choose. So if you're on that first page, you're like, okay, I'm going to look for this information, and, I'll look at 3 or 4 different sources, and you're going to get a wide variety of information. But now you're really getting a one-sided information, because all the information for your search is all very medically biased.
Yeah, it's kind of like a TV broadcasting station who is selling airtime for commercials, but they also own the companies or have invested money in the companies that are buying the commercials.
Right.
And they're only letting those companies have the commercial time. It's just, that's my issue, is that they're curating or filtering the information that we have access to. And there's definitely a bias. And it's not only that, but they're also making it very difficult for people like yourself who are just trying to help people. I mean, you're not, obviously you have a company and you have a supplement line and you have books and stuff, but more than anything, I mean, would you agree that the majority of your content that you produce is free and just accessible by the public? Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's your motive.
Thousands of dollars, to produce free content to help support people, right? And really the way that we're able to benefit from that is by giving people value. The more value people get, the more they continue to come back. And, that's what ultimately benefits us as a business. But you're right. I mean, a great source of that was people searching for information, our articles coming near the top, because, our followers really valued it and they shared it. They spent a lot of time reading that content. They linked to it. and therefore we got awarded. And now
Yeah.
we're deplatformed, so we don't get awarded, even though we're spending all this time, energy, and money on creating this, the world's best content.
Do you have any personal or specific references to instances where you tried to produce a piece of content that just flat out got rejected or got flagged, or you got notified that you needed to take it down, even though it was totally accurate and true?
Yeah, actually, with the recent COVID-19, the FDA, FTC created a task force, a COVID-19 task force. And they were going there, and they still are going around looking for content where people were promoting products as quote unquote treatments or cures for COVID-19. And, there's a lot of gray area in that, right? So, with FDA, FTC rules, you really can't say that any sort of natural compound, or it's one of those things where they ask for like a lot of human studies. And even if you show a few, you don't really know if that's enough, right? And so basically, you really can't make any claims that something like vitamin C or vitamin D can act to prevent, mitigate, treat, or cure any sort of medical health condition, and that would include something like COVID-19. And so we actually did get a letter from the FDA and FTC, and we had to make a lot of changes to our article. We actually had an article that had over 500,000 views on coronavirus, right? And that was the key word, was on coronavirus. And those views were not because people were finding it on Google. Those views were because it had like 48,000 social media shares, and people were just sharing it everywhere. And they were sharing it again because the content was really good. It was in depth, it was balanced, and it gave people hope, right? And gave them things that they could be doing to help support their immune system. So we had to take off any sort of mention of products that we offer to help support the immune system, and change a lot of our language in that. And so that's basically what we did. I understand the FDA, FTC, they want to help. They want to make sure that, you don't have scam artists and things like that and whatnot. But we have to be very careful with the language that we use when it comes to any sort of natural products that we're offering to the public.
Well, like having a task force or having some kind of checks and balances in our government so that, you don't have people putting out just whatever they want and telling people that it's going to cure stuff. At the same time, making someone like yourself produce, peer-reviewed medical research articles or all these human studies to show that vitamin C would help boost immunity, which would then help reduce the risk or the severity of COVID-19. It's kind of like saying, hey, before you go out and tell people that sunlight and water and healthy soil is going to help a wilting plant, we're going to make you, test 100,000 wilting plants. It's like, well, it's a principle, it's a law. It's not necessarily to say that sunlight cures wilting plant. We just know that a wilting plant has to have sunlight to thrive and be healthy, along with water and healthy soil, and not a lot of toxic garbage, on top of it. And the body is the same way. And that's why I really like this stuff that you produce, is you're not necessarily creating or promoting cures for diseases. You're talking about how to create health from the inside out, and a healthy body is free of disease. It's not the other way around. So last question I have for you is, what is your prediction? Because I know that you live in this space. You're constantly staying up to speed on what Google's doing and the algorithms of Facebook and how to get content out there and what to do and what not to do. What trend do you see, or where do you see this going in the next 5 to 10 years in terms of?
Can you hear me?
Sorry, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Sorry.
You were talking about the trends and where you see this going, right?
Yeah, I think there's a million people using Zoom right now.
Probably.
Internet issues. Yeah, just last couple minutes. Where do you see this trend going, and why should the general population care about this issue of health freedom?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely critical that we understand this, because this is really where we get our information. And so, the more and more that in our society, when people are initially interested in a topic and they start to do some research, and in today's day and age, the way we do research is usually we go to Google, right? Or we see stuff posted by friends, maybe on social media. We start to really frame our mindset around certain topics. And if it's coming from biased sources without balance, then we're going to have a whole generation of people, especially young people, that are, less naive, or basically more naive to the fact that there's alternative voices, when it comes to health. They're going to start to form their opinions. I mean, we had actually 2 nannies and my wife's cousin that all had to write they had to write reports on vaccines in high school, right? So they had high school reports. They had to write a pro-vaccine report. And so all 3 of them are like, don't even talk to me about vaccines. We swear by them, because they think they're experts because they wrote an article, because, basically their teacher said, hey, this is a great topic to write an article on. So what that tells me is that they're promoting this, now in schools, giving them really kind of a one-sided look at it. And also, obviously when people go to Google, things like that, they're finding all this sort of information. And we really need a balanced voice when it comes to this, or people are just not going to realize, how to really take good care of their health, and, the potential dangers that come with pharmaceuticals, with vaccines. And, they're trying to basically censor and suppress that information for financial gain, in my opinion. And so we've got to really be able to get that message out, and we've got to be able to fight for our rights, and we should all have freedom of choice when it comes to whatever's going on in our body, when it comes to making good choices for our family. It's just so critical. And this is a really important time to take the stand, because if we don't take a stand now, in 5 to 10 years, you're not going to be able to find any of this sort of information. And, I've tried to set my website up to be like a Google, where instead of going to Google, right, you come to drjockers.com if you want information on whatever, eczema, right, dementia. Then you can find a series of great articles that will provide really good content on, major causes, the pathophysiological processes of whatever disorders you're dealing with, and natural solutions that you can start to practice and apply.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. My fear is just that freedom is slowly going away. And again, the whole point of us doing this Facebook page and these interviews and this race is not to tell people what to do. It's not pro or anti anything. It's pro take responsibility, take responsibility, preserve the right to be informed, and then to make those decisions. And unfortunately, we're seeing both of those rights slowly dwindle, the access to the information, and also the ability to make decisions on credible and, logical information. So Dr. David, I really appreciate you spending some time with us this morning. I always learn a ton just by hanging out with you and listening to you talk. So I just want to say thanks. And real quick, little update about the race. So the race date is July 4th. It's a virtual race, meaning you can do it wherever you want, with whoever you want, at any time on 4th of July. It's a virtual 5K, which just means, you use your fitness watch or Strava app on your phone, something to track your distance. And it's 3.1 miles. It's going to be a blast. We have almost 100 people registered and signed up so far. My goal is to get 1,000. I'd really love to see 1,000 people come together. And the thing is that we also have a number of people who aren't in a position to race that day, either because of health issues or injuries, or they're just going to be up in the woods camping. And that's totally okay. It's not even necessarily about the run. It's about supporting Stand for Health Freedom. So if you guys register before the 19th, or I guess on the 19th is the last day to register, in order to get your t-shirt before the 4th of July. So kind of one of my hopes is that people would find a group of people or create a group of people to go do this run with, and take a bunch of pictures of yourselves wearing the shirts, and just, it's just a great way that we can create some culture and community on this page. But if you want your shirt for the race, you got to register by the 19th. You can register after the 19th, but if you do that, your shirt will be sent to you after the race. So no big deal, whether you can run or not. I'd love to have your support. Make sure you share this video. Dr. David, thanks again for being on with us today. And best of luck to you.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Appreciate you doing this.